Should also put up this, and we'll get to this other story in a minute about him. But there's two developments in terms of Kavanaugh's buddies that surrounded him. One is an update from the New Yorker story, wherein the original classmates who had signed on to who had given a statement and disputed Ramirez's claims. Debbie Ramirez withdrew their statements. And they initially had signed a statement of support for Kavanaugh provided by Kavanaugh's attorneys. They approached the New Yorker after this story was published and asked their names to be removed from the statement, saying they did not wish to dispute Ramirez's claims. Who knows? That statement that Ramirez didn't know what she was talking about is now signed by two of the men whom Ramirez alleged to had egged on Kavanaugh. So two of the accused have signed on saying that Kavanaugh didn't do any of that. The other thing you should be aware of, and Matt, I don't know if you have a copy of this. I'll send it to you now. That Kavanaugh's freshman roommate at Yale, now we're talking about the Ramirez accusations, a guy named James Roche, put out a statement. I was Brett Kavanaugh's roommate at Yale University in the fall of 1983. Remember, this is a guy who said, I drank, but I didn't,
Sunday school.
Yeah, Sunday school. We shared a 2-bedroom unit in the basement of Lawrence Hall on the old campus. Despite our living conditions, Brett and I did not socialize beyond the first few days of freshman year. We talked at night as freshman roommates do, and I would see him as he returned from nights out with his friends. It is from this experience that I concluded that although Brett was normally reserved, he was a notably heavy drinker, even by the standards of the time. I got news for you. In the mid-'80s, at the school I went to, not known as a party school, we had Monday night kegs. We had Wednesday night kegs. We had Thursday night kegs. We had Friday night official party and alternate kegs. Saturday night official party and alternate kegs. And occasionally Sunday night kegs, if somebody had one left over. I don't know if it was like that at Yale, but I can tell you contemporaneous just down the road in New London, Connecticut, it was like that. We drank a lot at that time. In fact, in Connecticut at that time, the drinking age would have been 18. So relative to the standards of the time, I can tell you there was a lot of drinking. So he was a notably heavy drinker, even by the standards of that time, and that he became aggressive and belligerent when he was very drunk. I did not observe the specific incident in question, but I do remember Brett frequently drinking excessively and becoming incoherently drunk. I became close friends with Debbie Ramirez shortly after we both arrived at Yale. She stood out as being exceptionally honest with a trusting manner. As we got to know each other, I discovered Debbie was very worried about fitting in. She felt that everyone at Yale was very rich, very smart, very sophisticated, and as a Puerto Rican woman from a less privileged background, she was an outsider. Her response was to try harder to make friends and get along. Based with my time at Debbie, I believe her to be unusually honest and straightforward, and I cannot imagine her making this up. Based on my time with Brett, I believe that he and his social circle were capable of the actions that Debbie described. Debbie described a situation where she was quite drunk and remembers Brett Kavanaugh basically reinserting his penis after putting his penis in her face while she was, I think, lying on the floor. Again, to show no contrition about these things. Had he shown some measure of contrition, could have been a very different situation. One more thing that came out was this story of a woman who at the time, her last name was Renate. And New York Times has a story that says Brett Kavanaugh's page in high school yearbook offers a glimpse of the teenage years of the man, now President Trump, Supreme Court nominee. Lots of football, plenty of drinking, parties at the beach.
A lot of blackout drunk jokes.
Yeah.
Who won anyway?
Which, look, again, the idea of looking at someone's yearbook to determine who they are as an adult is ludicrous. Unless you're trying to establish a pattern of behavior to determine whether one incident could or could not have happened. And the elements of making this decision, again, as Jamie says, whether or not you're going to hire someone for a job, not whether you're going to go to jail. You assess the credibility of the accuser. You assess the credibility of the accused. You also assess what the accused says about these accusations and how they describe how they were at that time. And if it matches up with physical or written or documented evidence or others' testimony about that time. That's the way you tell the credibility of this witness. You may not be able to know whether or not he engaged in the behavior he is accused of, but you can maybe assess whether he's being truthful about what he was doing broadly at that time. And if there's a disparity between what everyone else around him said he was doing and what he says, then it starts to cut into his credibility about his denials about the initial accusation. At least enough to say, like, hey, this job that we have, which we reserve for the most 9 judicious people in the country at any given time, who are going to determine the fate of millions of people, perhaps, for the next couple of decades at least. Maybe we should have a slightly higher standard. You got to be more or less consistent and accurate to the facts about a lot of different things. Maybe things that aren't even that important. Put aside even the accusations. If for some reason someone said, hey man, were you a blackout drunk in high school? And he says, no, I never.
Captain of the basketball
I was
team.
reading the Bible.
And then all this other stuff around him came out. That to me would be enough to say, I don't know if we can trust this guy. If he can't even cop to being a blackout drunk in high school, what else is he not copping to?
Well, there's some gambling questions.
So the word Renate appears 14 times in the Georgetown Preparatory School's 1983 yearbook, on individuals' pages in a group photo of 9 football players, including Judge Kavanaugh, who were described as Renate alumni. It's a reference to Renate Schroeder, then a student at a nearby Catholic girls' school. 2 of Judge Kavanaugh's classmates say the mentions of Renate were part of the football players unsubstantiating boasting about their conquests. Sean Hagan, a Georgetown prep student at the time, says they were very disrespectful, at least verbally, with Renate. I can't express how disgusted I am with them then and now. Kavanaugh's lawyer came out and said, well, the reason why her name was in his yearbook said it was only mentioned because Kavanaugh and Dolphin, that's Schroeder's, now I guess married name, attended an event in high school together. Judge Kavanaugh was friends with Renate Dolphin in high school. He admired her very much then, and he admires her to this day. Judge Kavanaugh and Ms. Dolphin attended one high school event together and shared a brief kiss. Good night following that event. They had no other such encounter. The language for Judge Kavanaugh's high school refers to that incident. So this guy and the other 9 football players were talking about their conquest of getting a kiss from Renate.
This is like how Michael Bloomberg said, I may have said I'd do her, but when I said I'd do her, I meant I'd have a personal relationship with her.
Right.
Yeah, I'd go for coffee
Like
and
an
talk about
alumni.
books with her.
It means kiss.
So, like,
and do
okay,
her means chamomile
Put aside
tea.
everything else. The guy can't come out and say, you know what? I was incredibly immature. He's willing to say he was a virgin. So why can't he say, I was a virgin. I wanted to fit in with the other football players. I wanted to make it seem like I was cool. What I did was incredibly immature and cruel and mean and childish. And it was a function of a kid who was insecure and trying to be one of the cool kids. And I learned that lesson early in life, that I have to be me, and I appreciate this, and it makes me more sensitive to the suffering of other people and understanding why people do sometimes horrible things, but they should have the opportunity to, redeem themselves. And I can't apologize enough to Renate Dolphin, and I'm disgusted by my behavior then, and I hope that I'm a better person now. Like, these things you're capable of saying. But for an adult to assume that other adults are going to believe that he and these football players consider themselves Renate alumni because he had kissed her at a dance. I mean,
They're just cataloging their puppy love.
honestly, are they that stupid? Do they think we're that stupid?
Yes and yes.
I just don't
yeah,
understand.
That
There's-
is actually a great reflection of the American aristocracy.
Yeah, and there's a subset of the population that will believe it's fake news if Trump and company say it is, no matter how much evidence there is.
It's a stunning story. It's a stunning story because they're trying to push it, and it's a stunning story because they expect people to believe it, and it's wow.